Three spots to determine, only one spot left in the Americas playoffs here for the Hearthstone Grandmasters inaugural season. In fact, we have 11 out of 12 players decided for the semifinals. Who will be the last person to go through? Is it Dog from Team Liquid? Is it Purple from Temple Storm? We'll find out. My name is Frody. I'm joined by Nathan. That's Admirable Zamora. We have the pleasure of closing out the second day of the broadcast here.
And what a match to close it out with as well, with Purple versus Dog in this one. Two guys that have been in the scene for a very long time. They've been pretty decent friends of mine. I practiced a lot with Purple this season in particular with Bomb Warrior stuff. He's opened my eyes to a lot of scenarios. And just watching Dog play pretty much any deck I've ever watched him play, I learned a lot of stuff about it because he's just got some pretty cool takes and finds some stuff that other players don't see.
Let's take a look at their decks. You've seen them throughout the broadcast. Dog going up against Eddie in the previous match. He is bringing the Rogue, but let's first check in with Purple and his Bomb Warrior. I think Purple is obviously not happy to have lost to Eddie, but he is much relieved that the Paladin probably has gotten through. Granted that he brought the Warrior to be able to crush decks like Rogue, and Purple bringing the Rogue must be, Dog being that Rogue must be a relief for him.
Yeah, and for Dog, I think it's mostly about his secondary deck where he has the two Togwaggle schemes, Snap to Harrison Jones, the Geppetto Joy Buzz. He's often pretty unfavored in game number one if Purple's got an early good start like he's got right here. Those two cards usually enough to consider it a good start. In game one, I expect Dog to, again, often be unfavored. He's going to get chipped away a lot. He's going to lose his minions. But in games number 2 and 3, he's going to look to use Togwaggle scheme to generate some nigh unbeatable situations is what he'll be looking for. So if he manages to steal game one here, big win for him in this one, as this is their last opportunity to make it through to Sunday. Otherwise, they're going to have to wait until Season 2 if they want their shot to make it to that Global Finals at BlizzCon. So everything riding on this match, and Game 1 paramount to each player's victory.
Yes, the last slot possible for tomorrow's Sunday match, where we'll be picking one player to go to BlizzCon for the Global Finals. Dog going to start off his plays with the Backstab Evil Miscreant. Action's pretty fast and furious to start things off here.
Yeah, neither of these players, I think, shy from playing quickly if they need to. They'll slow down if they're in unfamiliar territory, but a lot of times they don't end up in unfamiliar territory. These two have practiced a lot. I've seen them play a ton, and I know Purple's always active. Talked a lot about Bomb Warriors specifically over the last few weeks, too, leading up to the Masters Tour. I had the pleasure of sitting in with him and Gallon. And all three of our perspectives combined to form one eventual adult opinion about how to play Bomb Warrior correctly. And that was quite an interesting series because I think all three of us just had different takes on what the thing to do was.
I want to ask about this turn 4 here for Dog. I was looking originally at the same play, which was the Miscreant, but I was also looking at the fact that Purple on turn 4 doesn't have a way to answer the Eve Spear of the Shark.
Yeah, I think the Spirit of the Shark is pretty much a decent play when you're fighting for value, but right now he's fighting for tempo. And so with the Wrench Caliber equipped, it kind of prompts Purple away from using it for a turn, so you set up your own Shark to be killed. I think some of the ideal Shark turns you get are when you play Spirit of the Shark, you're going to get immense value from it, and then you can follow up with the lackeys in some way. And so what I'm looking at with two Witchy lackeys is Spirit of the Shark and Witchy lackey in the same turn to find a way to turn one of your minions that got some value into something big, and then Spirit of the Shark into something big. I think maybe for this turn, Dog was just thinking it's a bit too early to go for a play like that, but I think it would have been pretty reasonable. I think he's just looking to make it tougher for Purple to kill.
Yeah, and I think, based off his hand, as the game goes on, he can utilize Spirit of the Shark when he has other guaranteed points of value. Like, for example, this, right? He can use Spirit of the Shark and Evil Miscreant in the same turn next time.
Yeah, also might be able to just get both Witchy lackeys to come down in successive turns rather than in the same turn.
I like that too.
I think in successive turns it has a big payoff because you're weak to Brawl on that turn, but you have a Witchy lackey to back that up and make something bigger. And then, rinse and repeat. But for Purple, he's just scaling. Like, he's taking no damage, he's not really under any pressure, and he's got Blastmaster Boom in hand. So Dog has got to figure something out and get something going. I think it's likely the reason he chose Solarium over Lightning Bolt in that early position. I think if he had some more pressure going, that Lightning Bolt would have, likely held some more interest.
Yeah, getting that extra damage would have been really useful, but against Purple's deck, which has capability of scaling into late game with a lot of defensive options.
Oh boy.
Oh, interesting. I mean, Dog's saying, you know what? My hand is full of ways to generate cards and value. Solarium, Evil Miscreant, Spear the Shark.
Yeah.
I need to free up hand space.
One of my concerns with this play is the Eviscerate, where Purple's got the Harrison Jones right away. Now, granted, Dog's just hoping he doesn't see Harrison Jones, and when he sees it, he knows he's in trouble. And I think that's really the story to tell here, where rather than just Eviscerate this Harrison Jones, you realize if Harrison Jones hits, you're in a bad enough spot. Figure something else out. Like, your fight for board's probably done.
Maybe. I don't know. He has Spear of the Shark and Miscreant. It makes it feel like you can fight for the board for quite some time.
Yeah, I think the issue is just what damage it costs you. At least that's what I imagine his thinking is anyway.
Right. And I think that's where we try to see if we can counterpoint that. But looks like Dog's going to go for the Shark value here.
You know me. I mean, I'm often in favor of the high-risk, high-damage plays that try to force your opponent to have the right card.
Looking for Cobalt Lackey. Finds 3 Goblin Lackeys. Oh my goodness.
He used the Goblin Lackey first because he wanted hand space to maximize the Lackey potential. So now the Evolves are going to come in. And so that's not the 5 you're looking for. You need some more gas.
You can go to 7 off the other Witchy Lackey. You can also just use this existing Goblin Lackey to trade into the Harrison Jones. But then he's vulnerable to a Spear of the Shark.
Yeah, he's not going to be giving up his Spear of the Shark this turn, that's for sure. Yeah, I think I like taking out the Eternity Rover. It just represents quite a nuisance and a lot of extra life over the course of the next turns.
Yeah, Purple can just clear off the board here.
Yeah, this might be the opening for him to play the Blastmaster Boom. 2 bombs in deck. You got a 5/4 that can crack face. Does have a Warpath though.
Yeah, the Warpath to clear off is what I'm looking at. It does make things a little inefficient because he can't clear off the 5/4, and he does have 1 mana floating.
Thinking 3-path Shield Slam then?
Shield Slam.
I think 3-path Shield Slam actually might be better than Blastmaster this turn. Make a bit more headway on board. I guess Purple in this situation just doesn't fear the Shark. And honestly, why would he? Like, he's not really going to die. Dog has to worry about the pressure that's in play right now.
It just, I think what you could justify being afraid of is the Lackey value to easily destroy things like the 5/4 and 7/7. But if Dog had it, he would have played it Cobalt Lackey.
Likely. And you know, also just getting extra resources from the fact that Dog is going to play Lackeys, and then you have Warpath.
Right.
You know, we're approaching that point where Purple's just looking to close the gap from turn 7 to turn 10. And what that means is get resources from Dog. There was a lot of different ways for Purple to play this, I think, to end up in a favorable spot. And for Dog, I think his risk was apt with the Waggle pick. Recognized he was very far behind. Sometimes you just gonna get got.
Sometimes you get got, and you can't be too upset with it. You can defuse the boom bots.
Yeah, I'm curious how to see the attack goes. He's gonna risk the Shark getting picked off. It's a pretty low percent overall. Ooh, and he's looking for high-speed Hogwaggle too, so that last Witchy Lackey I think is likely to stay in hand. Unless he's absolutely desperate. Yeah, and he's going to keep chipping bombs away with the Spear of the Shark. So his sequencing makes sense as well. Is a bit of a risk to it. It's going to look bad when it fails, but sometimes it just bees that way.
They don't think it be like it is, but it do.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. I'm just summarizing what you tell me.
I'm just telling you what you're going to summarize.
I wonder.
How does it work? I like when you can turn the phrase back around.
Yeah, or when you can phrase it back and turn around.
Yeah, phrase it back around the turn.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you.
Defend the gates!
Militia Commander coming down just to shut down the Shark. Purple really just needs to keep Rogue from being able to develop too much more drugs. Dog has drawn a significant amount of cards just the last previous turn.
Yeah, something else to consider is the hand read that Purple, I think, has obtained throughout the course of this Spear of the Shark. I think he can rest quite comfortably knowing that most of the cards in Dog's hand are situational things. That is a lot of the deck once you just get to this instance. But I think he's got some pretty specific ideas of what's happening with Dog's hand. Like in the far left, there's not really much that can be, honestly. Like, it can't be Shadow Step. It'd be really tough for it to be a backstab. It's not an Edwin Van Cleef. Maybe like a Leroy. It's definitely not Togwaggle. Those sorts of things. Like, he knows that this left side of the hand is looking about what it is like right now.
Yeah, a lot of big tempo swing available for Dog, too.
He's got to capitalize on that tempo swing, too. So think to the Warpath that Purple had on that Harrison turn versus the Blastmaster Boom. He could have 3 Warpaths, Shield Slam, and push 5 damage, left himself with clear skies. Instead, he's held on to it, and I think it's going to pay off. No Weapons Project.
Yeah, the Weapons Project to make the Waggle pick forced to trigger early.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely you even want to activate on any of these. This is looking like a decent Warpath turn. I'll be curious to see how he reacts to this one, because there are a lot of different good plays here. Yeah, he's going to hang on to this Warpath, too. I'm curious when this is going to get used.
I mean, the Warpath is pretty decent removal to kill everything from the Rogue, because the biggest minion that they have is Hearthstone and Togwaggle at 5/5, so most likely you should be able to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to hope I don't see a Togwaggle in this game. And that's an Edwin that shows up, and that's a lot of cards that Dog can play with it. 0 cost Novice Engineer to lead things off. This Edwin's going to be scary.
Rebuke is interesting. Would make it very difficult for Purple to deal with an Edwin Van Cleef outside of a Mega Devastator.
Yeah, I mean, that's the gap that Purple's been clearly trying to close, though. And so that has to be in the forefront of Dog's mind. That's 3 cards.
This guy's toast.
That's going to be a big enough Edwin.
The Brotherhood shall prevail.
So now I will start to be getting surprised if Purple doesn't make something happen here. So once the Edwin's dead, oh, and now he's trying a second Warpath. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean 3 Warpaths and the Dynamatic. Good enough here.
Mana off the Dynamatic.
Oh,
Okay, you're right.
that Mega Devastator is perfectly fine.
Also thematically sequenced with Never Dash line.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, I mean, Dog he's still got gas here. The problem is just he's made almost no progress on damage.
But he's made progress in the resource battle, so perhaps he's trying to choke Purple out. Like, by trading resources, he'll eventually stick something, and then Purple's just left with whatever he has.
Yeah, that's the idea behind the Edwin too, right? You're gonna have to force the Omega Devastators through at some point, and then you're relying on Togwaggle to do the heavy lifting, like whether it's take a crown and have 2 big legendaries live, or whether it's draw cards and try to make that final push. The final push bleeds away further and further every single turn that he's not actually connecting damage. And that's one of the reasons I think he's pushing so hard here. But now Purple knows that he's getting very low on resources. Whew. Warpath is often not going to be very good versus Togwaggle if it discovers legendaries from Crown. So I'm moving further and further towards being in favor of ripping the second Warpath. And the reason why is because Dynomatic and Ziliax are going to operate much better independently than they will in these situations.
This is a tough spot here for Purple.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways it can go.
Yeah, I could see him justifying just using the AoE clear and using the Warpath to wipe off 9 points of damage from his opponent, but maybe he feels like he's too vulnerable at that point.
Yeah, I mean, there still is a second Spirit of the Shark, too. You know, that's, I would say, one of his linchpin answers to a card like that. But,
Right.
you know, how much more Spirit of the Shark stuff can actually happen in this spot? That's kind of my thought.
Still a decent amount. There's a few Cable Rats, there's Tight Spirit Togwaggle.
Yeah, I mean, the Togwaggle will have already done the dirty job at that point, though. That is if the Spirit of the Shark lives.
Do the dirty. Can't forget the bombs. There's 3 bombs in the deck, now 2.
And yeah, it's time to go drawing. You have to find something now.
Blink Fox and Leroy.
So all of these are playable this turn, except for, you know, one of them is going to get stranded. And this is a big decision point for Dog. It's going to be either he abandons the Leroy game plan or he's going to commit in some way to the Leroy game plan. And so that Shadow Step represents either future value with big turns on like Togwaggle or what have you, or it's representing damage. And I imagine with the way that this game has been going, a dog's going to have to favor damage just because that's what he's been given.
That's the only way he can really win.
If this was a Togwaggle instead, I don't think this would be much of an option. Togwaggle all day. What can save you from lackeys, from Blink Fox? There's too many outcomes to calculate in a single turn. You gotta go with your gut. I guess there's a chance of just evolving it. Yeah, I kind of like that. You get the lackey back in your hand as a reserve, so you get an actual threat here. Yeah, I think that's very nicely done.
+4 health.
That's a good middle ground.
Yeah, and forces Purple to react to it.
Yeah, he does technically have a clear here, but you're going to take some damage in the meantime.
Right. The Wrench Caliber and Dynamatic is a clear. Alternatively, you could Zilliax, or Dynamatic and then Zilliax.
Yeah, the Zilliax, I'm not really sure. I feel like that's something that Purple wants to hold on to for a while, but perhaps it's just the time is nigh. Looking like it's very settling. It does force some removal from Dog's side. It just becomes a big threat. Ah, independent.
Interesting.
I like that.
That's right.
Keep something on board. Start chipping away at life. That's the goal.
I guess it didn't really matter either way here. The mark shot for Dog. He's looking for something big. Togwaggle Scheme.
Well, Scheme game 1 is not supposed to show up every time.
That is interesting.
So that is an actual game changer. Purple has no way to identify that this is a Togwaggle Scheme, and what that means is he may be playing the game a bit softer with the attempt to simply outlast High Spear and Togwaggle. That may be impossible if he plays it too slow.
Not that he has much of a choice. Look at his hand.
Yeah, look at his hand.
His hand's telling him to do one of two things, which is either do nothing and lose, or press and try to win with bombs.
And I know which one of those two Purple's going to take. There's not a single player in the world you have to convince to make an aggressive play.
Bomb being drawn. Another bomb being drawn. I wonder how big that Armor Smith will play a role.
It's interesting. Extra life really matters when you're on 5 breakpoints. Yeah, so like, honestly, even this Shadow Step gets pretty freed up when Dog finds a spot for it. The 1/1 nuisance begins.
That's all it is, just a nuisance, but still very hard to deal with right now if you're a warrior.
Yeah, that's about the worst draw in the deck. I'm curious, though, with a Wrench Caliber already equipped, this is the second Wrench Caliber. Can you just try and fetch, like, weird warrior damage to end this game?
This story deserves
Yeah.
a new ending.
I mean, why not play a 7/7? That, I guarantee you that's Purple's thinking. Why not play a 7/7?
Yeah, Woodcutter's that. Oh, Ashley's Soul Thief is really interesting.
That's very interesting. But the Woodcutter's Axe does represent some damage to chip away with.
It does, yeah, it does represent 2 mana 4 damage. Looks like he picked the Ashley's Soul Thief.
Yikes. That one's bad.
Well, Cleave actually isn't terrible.
Dragon Roar, and then Soul Thrace, no choice.
Oh, that's 16 damage.
Yeah, so now Purple's game plan is pretty straightforward. Shield Slam the Armor Smith to prevent future armor gain. That effectively deals a lot of damage. Took a Cleave off the third pick, and he did take Azalina. So Security Rover, Azalina, Dragon's Roar, Cleave, and Soul Thrace.
And now is the point where it looks like Dog is falling just too far behind, even though he has more resources. Togwaggle Scheme's not doing enough here.
Sap the Azalina.
Sap Azalina.
I'm sorry, Elysiana. I always confuse the two of them.
Same difference. High impact, anti-fatigue, or anti-late game scenarios.
But both mega situational.
Yes.
And require tempo. That's kind of what I mean by that Shadow Step too, is he feels like he needs some generation going. And that's why Purple's, I think, partially killing off so many 1-1s is he just goes, Dog's got to do something if I do this.
Nothing. Power.
Pilfer. Maybe a sap again. I mean, your opponent just
Right.
up their deck with weird stuff.
Choose
I like the sap. Push a little bit of tempo every single time. Gotta get your opponent down to 0 somehow. Purple's best draw, I think, is Soul Thrays. Okay, security rovers.
Not bad. I mean, that's a pretty sizable threat in the immediate. You know, once you've broken it down to like this weird value battle, that's where this card actually starts looking good. Oh my.
Oh. 2 bombs left in the deck.
Dog shakes his head. Bad draw. That is not the one you wanted to see. That's a tech card for Mage.
Right.
Yeah, what option do you have?
Doesn't really have anything else, and he's
Yeah.
still his Togwaggle.
I mean, you see Purple's reaction to it too. He knows that that's a potentially devastating tempo play that got made. So much of Purple's deck is just going to cost 6 mana or more that he's going to be relegated to 1 card.
Yeah, but in the end, I think Purple still feels pretty comfortable.
Oh, that's 3 attacks.
I mean, you just attack face.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe you have a second Soul Raise in deck, so I think
Okay.
killing the lackey is responsible.
Right.
He's killing everything? Wow, that is a major respect in the tempo battle.
All right. Well,
I'm quite surprised by
yeah.
all those minion kills. I mean, it makes some sense. Yeah, Dog's gonna have to go in here. He doesn't have an opportunity to wait anymore.
Oh. Oh. More spirits.
So, Spirit of the Dragonhawk is the left one. Doesn't do anything. The Serpent Ward, however, does get in its 2 immediate damage. Misses.
Oh my goodness. It's the only 2 things that can't die.
He needed to hit either the Serpent or the Lackey, but
Oh!
Dog draws the bomb. He had to fade that bomb in order to win the game.
Well, he also needed to find his Hearthstone Togwaggle, which is the bottom 2 cards of the deck. Purple takes the game number 1 here. Warrior versus the Rogue. Does end up being Warrior favorite a lot of times, and now Dog switching to his secondary deck, most likely
Yeah.
will help turn the tide.
So that's just one of the weaknesses to look for in general, is A, the importance of High Spear and Togwaggle, but also B, the importance of being able to generate tempo and actually fight. Because that's the one way I think Dog can actually lose in games 2 and 3, is either he fails to draw High Spear and Togwaggle, or he has it, but he can't generate the tempo necessary to back it up. And so when you look at what he's removed from the deck afterwards, I think he's removed about the right mix. A Acidic Swamp Ooze, a Fairy Dragon, a Sap, a Backstab, and a Waggle Pick are coming out in place of these high-value, high-impact cards versus Warrior. My one thing to look for is just, can he keep the tempo up? Because Purple fought very aggressively within that game. Obviously, his hand was fantastic to do so.
Yeah.
But you're talking the next 2 games, all are the most important for Dog out of the entire season. You know, he was top of the division. He had a fantastic one that's coming into it, but it could all come to an end in 1 more game.
That's right. There's no more room for error for Dog. He's going to switch to his secondary deck with Togwaggle Scheme, Snip Snap, Harrison Jones, Geppetto Joybuzz. Be hard-pressed to find 5 better cards against Warrior right now from the Rogue arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a topic of debate, too, where, you know, is it better to do this, or is it better to suit up a War Gear on a Coppertail Imposter and just hit him in the face for 9?
I kind of like this a little bit better. I do know that's more combo dependent, and a lot of times you just want to pressure the Warrior, but I feel like I've seen the Warrior Coppertail thing just fall flat so many times. Well, almost every single time Togwaggle Scheme was able to get pulled off, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because in my time watching Americas, I've noticed that as well. In Europe, it's worked very well, though.
It's interesting how it panned out.
Yeah. Purple sticking on the same 30. Does not have a secondary or tertiary plan for this. The main deck is meant to tackle Rogue.
Victory.
Strength is steal game 1 and then be good enough in games 2 and 3. And once again, he's got Wrench Caliber.
Crucial opening card.
Most important card in the deck versus Rogue, I would say.
Why is that?
It just represents so much value for it. You know, 2 of the prime minions for Dog are Blinkbox and Hench Clan Burglar, the Wrench Caliber starts loading your opponent's bombs, or deck up with bombs, and takes out both of those minions in back-to-back turns. So it buys you tempo, it can threaten a Spear of the Shark coming down by itself, and it starts to set up the damage and for Blastmaster Boom. Like, I just that's the card that makes Bomb Warrior work. If you're wondering how they built that house or shed or whatever it was, they use the Wrench Caliber for every single job.
I guess so. The Swiss Army knife. Coin, Van Cleef versus Snipsap. I feel like we've seen this battle a lot.
Yeah, it's a tricky one where your Edwin's threatened, but I imagine Dog is probably going to end up being okay with 8 damage here, and then he backs that up with Snip Snap, or he's going to take tempo. I'd be pretty surprised to see him fight for tempo unless he intends to use the Shadow Step here. You know, some of his thoughts that he's worried about: A, Militia Commander, B, Wrench Caliber. I would argue that in the Wrench Caliber instance, that 8 damage from this is probably, you know, pretty good enough. It's a possibility Spellbreaker's on his mind, but that's more of an insurance plan for Purple than it is a main answer. But this turn right here is so important for the rest of this game.
Yeah, what's Dog gonna do? Is he trade going face? This is the eternal question that has plagued many Hearthstone users in the past.
And it looks so simple.
Yeah, just do the right thing.
Yeah, just pick one.
Just do the right thing.
Every single decision point changes the entire scope of the game. It's not as simple as this turn. It's every other turn that you're worried about.
The pick in the trade. He knows that Purple gets 1 card with the Wrench Caliber too.
Yeah, so the debate there was the Shadow Step, but it still gets taken out in the same regard, unless you wanted to keep it in hand. Yeah, and that look from Dog, the yup, nod his head. Not what he wanted.
He had a suspicion of it. It's kind of like you said. Had he known, he would have taken the 4 free damage.
You know, one of my favorite memories from Dog, in the way that he shakes off situations where he takes the risk, is Trinity series where he's teamed up with Nyria, and we're doing the listen in, and Dog goes, "They have Reno, it's fine," and Nyria goes, "It's not fine." And it's like it was such a microcosm of exactly their personalities in a split second, where Nyria's like, "No!" and Dog's like, "It's fine."
It's chill. Dog's like, "Yeah, it's chill, whatever."
He taught me how to be chill in that scenario.
I'm still learning. But he gave me some good one-on-one coaching, though. Anything Dog plays can get challenged pretty easily. Any 3 health minion gets swapped away. Spear the Shark gets bopped by the Dynamatic.
Where'd that blanket come from?
Oh, yeah, Dog tends to, like, having, you know, loungy type deals. He wears pajama pants a lot, or wears throw blankets.
Yeah, and you see why Wrench Caliber is such a problem. It's like...
Anything you do, just die.
Throw the next thing in there to go die for me? Like, that's a... Yikes, that's a big tempo swing.
Yeah, and also a terrible way to lead your army.
And think about it, too. Like, he had the Harrison Jones, so his risk on it has to come in the proper spot, and just nothing lined up.
Speaking of not lining up, all these cards that Dog has get easily challenged again, so Novice Engineer is what Dog's leaning towards. Blink Fox can also come down.
I feel like I would like to see a Shadow Step on this Novice Engineer.
When you have Leroy in hand, I always feel like you have to be a little bit more hesitant about it.
So for me, it's that Togwaggle scheme in here, and you think about the game plan, it's find Togwaggle and battle back. You know, that turn right there is a nightmare, of course, but now that Spear of the Shark is not drawing 2 cards,
Jeez.
I'm very worried. I'm extremely worried.
Yeah, now Dog it doesn't feel like Dog even has the time. Even if he could draw 2 more cards with Spear of the Shark, I think he's still in trouble. He's just staring at too much tempo.
It's a true story. I mean, the sap got taken out. There's no eviscerates in the deck. Like, how do you fight back if that's the case?
Dog's fighting back just with the right side of his hand.
No Lackey deals with the 2 damage follow-up either. So, I mean, he's looking at taking 7 more.
He can Shadow Step and try 1 more time, but that only gives him 1 Lackey. He can also go for the Ethereal Lackey here.
I feel like this is Faceless, Lackey, and Shadow Step in some combination. Wait, the Shadow Step would give him 10 cards in hand. So that does work. So Shadow Step to 9, Lackey to 10. And he still doesn't find a way to answer. 2 out of the 5 would answer. He missed it 4 times.
Okay, finds a sticky mech minion.
Reasonable outcome.
Does get cleaned up fairly
Oh,
easily.
boy.
Town Crier pulls.
If that pulls a Ziliax, Dog is in trub.
I'd argue we're already in Trub zone.
Well, we're about a mile outside of town right now, and if Ziliax is the next stop,
What now?
he gets there quick.
We're past Trub. We're in Flub zone.
Yeah, this is bad. This is real bad. You're just getting beat up by minions now. Like, the effect has only mattered on Dinomatic. Like, the rest of these they're just minions.
Well, they're just tempo minions, and Dog can't afford to trade any more of his life at this point. He doesn't have Ziliax to rebound his life. He has Ethereal Lackey to help him get some spells and maybe deal some damage to the minions. He has all these great resources, and Purple's like, it's cool, you have a full hand. I'm gonna kill you.
This is a time. Sap is found.
Okay, Sap.
Cold Blood's found. Something to fight back. Backstab.
Backstab's good, that helps him trade for 2 more minions, but he's still taking 7. Cold Blood on this. Backstab trade, he's still taking 6 damage, apologies.
It's going to 5.
It's a break point. It's going to 5 with 2 bombs in the deck.
And Purple's got Acolyte Warpath or Blastmaster Boom.
Oh, man. Man, oh man.
How many bombs are left?
2. 2 bombs are in the deck.
Well, he drew one of them, right?
Well, 2 bombs are still remaining in Dog's deck.
Right.
Hit the 2 wrench calibers and the clock. Going for it instead.
I mean, Acolyte Warpath is just... Wow, he's not going Acolyte Warpath even. So he's trading off a Lackey and then going face for 6 more. It says, if you draw a bomb, you die, and I have Blastmaster Boom after you clear all this stuff to play it and then activate all of the death rattles on Boombots.
If Dog just had more time, he'd easily clean up all this value from Purple and climb way ahead in the resources. Just, did he take it too slow?
I don't think he had an option, really. Like, it was Wrench Caliber was the risk that he opted for. And I think he's right to opt for that Wrench Caliber risk. Like, that's just a card you're going to have a tough time against almost no matter what. And it wasn't just the Wrench Caliber, it was Wrench Caliber into 4-5, into a Dinomatic. Like, his board just got shredded every step of the way. I think his risk against the Wrench Caliber was correct. If that one succeeded, this is a different game. But not today.
Well, it's not over yet. We've seen some pretty miraculous comebacks through the power of lackeys.
It's definitely true that Snip Snap offers a lot of potential here. But when you have 5 precious points of life, a 1-2 looks more like a mountain giant.
It does scale accordingly.
Yeah.
About a 4th of your life, 5th of your life.
So the Snip Snaps are great in the face of like a Blastmaster Boom. He gets to clear off 2 3-attack minions, and he has Death Rattle sticking around to back that up. But you gotta get to evolving. You need a Sunwalker.
Oh, he found a Spark Drill. Ends up trading Venomizer. And that's gonna do it! Wrench Caliber off the top, Purple has 5 damage.
Wow.
He is the first player to upset a #1 seed in the group. And Bomb Warrior gets over the hump. Dog with a shake of the head. He had a great season, but today belongs to Purple, who is able to withstand Dog's incredible Shark deck. Good job to Purple as he advances to semifinals.
And it might, you know, I got a feel for Dog on that one, but, you know, he did win the Masters Tour in Las Vegas. So, you know, a bit of an
he had
ease.
to lose sometime.
A bit of an ease as you lie on your carpet and wipe away your tears with $100 bills. And for Purple, though, this is just another mark on the legacy that he's had as a competitive player, where he's, you know, again, stepping through some of the toughest brackets that are out there. He's doing it amidst the times where he's going in and out of the competitive scene. You know, he's a 2-time champion of the Americas region. Like, he's just always been a performer when it comes crunch time. And just another example of it here.
Yeah, and so Purple will be joining the rest of the players in the top 4, which we'll be able to check in just a second. But first, we're going to try to get Purple on the line for a brief interview. So, Purple, are you there?
Yeah, what's up, Froden?
All right, so quite the roller coaster for you today in terms of the games. You want to talk a little bit about any of the series, whether probably start from the most recent one against Dog. How'd you feel that series went?
Oh, I attacked him and he ran out of health, so I'd say it went rather according to plan. Um, I don't know. The Elysiano is super questionable. No clue if that was right or not. Deck was medium, but he was in top deck mode. So when games of Hearthstone end up in a spot where Elysiana should be tempoed, generally the condition for it being good is that like your opponent has like very little health because like a bunch of unplayable cards like Heroic Strike, Mortal Strike will first become all of a sudden playable because well you wouldn't put them in your deck in the first place, but if your opponent started the game at like 5 health, then those cards are all of a sudden good. So I think that was a bit spot where I think you play it, but I'm not sure. It worked out, so
Yeah, well, Admiral's in favor of it.
Luck,
Seemed to work out really
lucky
well.
Sulfurous off the top, I guess.
Hey,
Game
that's
2,
20%.
I don't know. Game 2, I assume he went to his scheme deck, and I just played stuff and attacked him, and he ran out of health. Like, pretty straightforward. Like, if the thing with playing with dead cards in your hand is that you are vulnerable to being attacked, and the more aggressive you can be, the better against that strategy. Now, the first match was the interesting one. Game 1 kind of just bricked against Eddie. I was hoping for shield block. I calculated to go into boom mode because I could only get to 51, meaning if Hammer Wrath wasn't the last card in his deck, I was going to lose that game, and Hammer Wrath was his last card of the game. Then I felt stupid because I played the boom. Unlucky. Game 2, there was like 3 more bomb cards in the bottom of my deck, and boom and shield block all gave me extra turns. I was just, if I win that brawl, I win the game, and I wanted that game back. That was a super interesting match, and I'd love to keep playing that match. That was super fun.
Can we expect a show match with you and Eddie then?
Sure. I mean, my play testing, before I kind of figured out what to do in the matchup, I won 15 games in a row with Paladin, and then I figured it out, and then I went 9-1 with Warrior. So like, I don't think the show match would actually be particularly close. I think Warrior's just a massive favorite. And like a large portion of what I was doing was just nothing, and he drew out a snail's pace, and he was just not doing anything. It's just unfortunate. My Acolyte, Boom, Shield Block, Alec, and Clockwork Goblin were my last 6 cards. He just got lucky. Not much else to it.
All right. Well, I think it's interesting hearing both of your perspectives, you and Eddie. I highly recommend you go back and check his interview if you get a chance to. You got a chance to practice with Gallon, and Gallon was talking to us about how you put in something around 20 hours of gameplay for that matchup alone. Is that true?
Yeah, I spent the last 3 days only playing that matchup, and I figured it out. The obvious curve out plan is just bad because it just loses to Shirvala and Zilex. So the whole play nothing approach is the way to go. And you basically you just need to draw 4 cards before in your top 25 or so. It's not really hard. And then they have 6 bombs in their deck, and if you just ignore the egg, they can't really win. So the Dialect in the Clockwork just didn't show up, but it's just a mathematical favorite. Obviously, like sometimes the bombs don't explode. But the only thing you can do in the matchup really is have a percent. It's not. It's going to be luck based at the end every single time.
Gotcha. You'll be going up against Frozen in the semifinals tomorrow, as he is the first seed on the other side of the bracket. Any thoughts on that match going up against Pogo Rogue?
And the last time I played Frozen on ladder, he had a 5-5 and a 7-7 on turn 2, so I'm thinking I'm just dead.
All right. Well, it's been a great season then, right? And in the semifinals, we get next time.
It was fun while it lasted. I'm ready. I'm ready to have a 5-5 and a 7-7 beating down on me on turn 2. Hopefully he gets like a broom to make some Pogo animations on stream, at least making it entertaining for the viewers.
Boing boing. I'm
sure your expressions will do just fine. All right, Purple, any last words or thoughts you want to say to wrap up this interview?
That's about all. I'm go practice some war against Pogo Rogue.
Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, so that does it. Purple is our last player joining Eddie, PNC, and Frozen in the top 4.
That's right.
And the story of America seems to be on one side of the bracket, we have World Championship experience, some going as far as the grand finals against Tom 60229 back in Amsterdam 2017. And Eddie and PNC, who are 2 contenders for years who's wanted to break into it. And it'll be a match between a veteran versus a, quote, rising star, even though they've been around for a while.
This really is a bit of the old guard versus, the new blood that's coming in as well. Eddie has been around for a long time. He was formerly Sohyun, and in 2018 he had a fantastic run on the Hearthstone Championship tour stop system. And PNC was the same. They were 2 of the consistent performers that were out there at every single tournament, finding themselves in those top 32s, those top 16 positions. And enough of those, and you've found the mark of somebody who is a truly good Hearthstone player. I think Eddie this season has also, proved that, full worth at this point. But he's got one more task ahead of him, and that's beat the other 3 that are here.
Yeah, it's been a real fun couple of days, but tomorrow, we kind of take off the gloves, no more second chances, even though today we saw Purple able to use that lower bracket as a redemption chance against Dog. It didn't really work out a lot of times for the other players, right? Yesterday, we saw all the first seeds go through, and the player that won the first match cleaned it up. Purple was able to break that streak. Tomorrow, it's all single elimination, and we're going to best of 5. Which is a change up from the best of 3 that we've had.
Yeah, finals are going to be best of 5 scenarios, and that's going to be how we determine who's going to that global finals. 1 player per region per season of Grandmasters. So we're going to find out 3 between the regions that we have on display in Grandmasters here, and then next season we're going to find 3 more. So 15 others are going to have to wait for their chance.
All right, that does it for us on our second day of broadcast here for the Hearthstone Grandmasters inaugural season playoffs. If you guys missed any portion of the broadcast, want to check out the deck list, want to even check out the rule sets on Tiebreaker and how we got to this point, playhearthstone.com/esports is your central hub for everything Hearthstone Grandmasters and Hearthstone Esports. Maybe even sign up for a Bucharest qualifier to see if you can go part of the Masters Tour as well. From Frodan, Admirable, TJ Settle, and everyone here in Burbank, California, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for more Hearthstone action.